Welcome back to the 2015 Senior Bowl, covered by Luke Inman, eDraft.com, Ian Wharton, Optimum Scouting, Dan Hope, Bleacher Report, Ethan Hammerman, Sportsnot. There it is. We got the all-star team here, guys. Guys, you know, second day of practice. North squad just wrapped up. Coming into this week, we knew running backs, pass rushers, that was the bread and butter. We got David Cobb out here weighed in at 229, one of the big winners. Give me a couple winners and losers from those two categories that you guys saw today. I'm going to start with you, Ethan.
Yeah, well, I think that the guy who sort of is the buzz of the town right now is Quentin Rollins from Miami. I mean, everyone sort of is mesmerized by this guy who literally just started playing football in the NCAA this year at Miami, was a star basketball player there for a while, and he looks so fluid in coverage. Still some questions maybe about the long speed, but his ball skills are top of the class by far. He looked great today.
And when you say Quentin Rollins, you're talking about the cornerback from Miami, Ohio. Actually had an interception today as well, and you're right, a lot of buzz around him, Mike Mayock, and a lot of other scouts, including him. Guys, Ian, a couple guys, maybe winners or losers that you saw today from the North practice day two?
I'd have to say a big winner today was Cincinnati linebacker Jeff Luck. The guy weighed in 5'11", 260 pounds. Saw some of his film in the season, and he looked a little sluggish, looked a little slow. He has not looked like that so far. I mean, even being at that weight, which is ginormous for a guy his stature, you know, he looks fluid. He's dropping back well. He's playing, you know, sideline to sideline, covering the flats with the running backs. He's really impressed, and I think he's made himself into a viable draft pick for sure. And now it's just a matter of how high can he climb.
No doubt, a lot of buzz around him. And again, he weighed in close to 270 pounds. Again, for an inside linebacker, moving very well. Dan, what do you got? Some guys, highlights, lowlights, somebody that stuck out for you after day two in North practice?
Yeah, I said today on Twitter I liked the Hawkeyes and the Huskies today. I thought Carl Davis and Louis Trinket-Passat, the DTs for Iowa. I thought Davis, he was in the backfield all day. Really had a productive practice. Trinket-Passat looking a little quicker than I expected this week. Pretty impressed with him. For Washington, thought Hauli Kikaha, he worked mostly for linebackers today. I mean, he was going up against tight ends in pass rushing drills, and it's just not a fair fight. I mean, he was quicker off the snap of them, so good with his hands. Really looked good today. Danny Shelton as well, a guy, his quickness really stands out for a guy who's 343 pounds. Thought all those guys had a good day, as well as Hayes Pollard from USC, also very good day.
You know, it's funny you bring up Haloi Kakai. He's actually, after everybody's left, on the bus, ready to eat. We got Haloi over here, still working on drills, still trying to get better. Clearly what separates him. Guys, I want to bring up a couple guys that got some storylines behind them, Tony Lippett being one. Standout receiver, 6'3" at Michigan State. A lot of scouts wanted him, or at least asked him, the opportunity to move to cornerback. He denied that, and it sounds like he's going to stick that out, the receiver position, and I think we all agree that's the right move. But you got Nick Marshall that we're going to find out in a couple hours here at the South practice, who is making the switch from quarterback to secondary. Tell me what you think about his possibility of, I guess, the smooth transition and what you like about him.
Well, I actually was at South practice yesterday, and I got to watch Nick Marshall, and he was being coached hard by the Jaguars. They see the potential there. I see the potential. He has really good movement. He's really athletic. Definitely has something to work on. I mean, he was having some issues in press with some of the bigger receivers, and, you know, he's not perfect, but it was his first day. And I think for a first day, did a really good job. Yeah,
tough spot to really come into here. Already your head spinning, let alone when you have to switch to another position. What do you think that transition is going to be like for Nick Marshall?
You know, I think it's going to be positive for him. Like we talked about, you know, his movement skills, it all should translate, you know, pretty well. You look at what he was doing at quarterback, it just probably wasn't going to work out at quarterback. So you really want to make it in the league, you're going to have to sacrifice sometimes. And it shows a lot about his character, shows a lot about his work ethic, that he's willing to make that change right now and get an early start before the combine, so that hopefully if he goes to the combine, he can maybe look a little bit more refined technically.
You know, again, one of the deeper positions here, again, pass rushers and running backs, one of the weakest positions, quarterback. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, clearly your top two. Nobody knows who's number three. Today we saw Bryce Petty and Shane Carden. Anything good or bad stand out for you with either of those guys?
You know, the guys really haven't stood out to me yet this week. I mean, you know, like you said, this really isn't that strong of a quarterback class. If you get past Winston and Mariota, there's really a big drop-off. You know, Brett Hundley's a guy I certainly would have liked to see here this week, see what he can do. You know, Petty's got a good arm. The accuracy hasn't quite been there. You know, Carden and Mannion, those are guys I see as late round type of guys, day free type picks. Have a little bit of potential as backups, but starting, I don't think it's likely.
Any last words about quarterbacks and what you saw from them today? any guy that could possibly emerge here, whether it is north or south, as the number 3 quarterback behind those guys?
I mean, Garrett Grayson was 4th in the country this year at converting 3rd downs, and I think overall that's one of the stats I use because I think it's very projectable to the NFL and translates really well. He looked okay yesterday, a little bit inconsistent, but I think that he's the guy who could be the riser, especially considering the other 2 quarterbacks on his team, Blake Sims and now Brian Bennett from Southeast Louisiana, not the best quarterbacks, I think we can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, David Cobb, a lot of buzz around him, weighed in at 229, looked good in the pass blocking skills. TJ Clemmings personally hasn't quite lived up to the hype yet for me. I like Lincoln Tomlinson. I think he's been a winner so far. Hayes Pullard has been another winner for me personally. Quentin Rollins. Everybody give me one winner, one loser from just North practice today that you liked.
Yeah, I have to say, for a loser, I'd have to go with TJ Clemmings. You know, I've watched him a little bit yesterday, a lot today, and he's really struggling in pass protection. We knew coming into the week he was going to be a little raw in pass pro, and you know, I really haven't seen it from him this week. He's been getting beat regularly. And it's not just with the quick moves. He's getting pushed back too, and that's not what you want to see from him. You know, going back to the winners, I would say Hayes Pullard's a guy who, you know, I've watched him in the linebacker drills out here both days. He's been the most fluid guy out here. You watch him in the pass rush drills against running backs. I mean, they can't pick him up. He's too quick off the snap. He's got a nice set of moves. I think he's a guy who's really showing himself as a top 100 pick this week.
Starting to get some buzz, 4-year starter and captain at USC. Ethan, winners and losers?
Loser for me is Donovan Smith from Penn State. Every time I watched him, he was getting beaten off the edge by somebody, and he's just not ready yet to be a starting offensive tackle in the NFL. I think that at this point, I'm not sure I would pick him until at least round 5 or 6. For the winner, I think Justin Hardy really had a great practice. He's a great wide receiver, a little bit understated athletically, but my comparison from him is Donald Driver, the former Packers guy. He catches almost everything, made some really acrobatic plays today, and I think he's really separated himself from like Devin Smith and Tony Lippett in terms of being the most projectable pro receiver.
I would say for my loser, I would say Shane Carden, the quarterback from ECU. This was an opportunity for him to kind of come out and show that he's got the footwork, he's got the leg drive to kind of overcome his arm strength. He can make, you know, the throw from the to the long side, the far sideline, and he hasn't really done that. Most of his balls have been kind of sailing out of bounds, making it tough for the wide receivers to actually make a play on it. So it's been a rough week for him so far. As far as a winner, I would definitely have to go right now with Eric Rowe, cornerback from Utah. He's kind of the guy that everyone wanted Stanley Jean-Baptiste to be, as well as Keith McGill last year from Utah. He's been more of like that press cornerback, can turn and run. They played him a little bit at safety. He looked pretty good at safety, had an interception off Sean Mannion early in the day. And he's a guy with the range, he's got the speed. The question is he stiff enough, is he too stiff to play a cornerback? But I don't think he's shown that so far. I think so far he's shown that he could be a bona fide cornerback.
No doubt. Plenty of good days from some guys, plenty of bad days from some guys. I think we can all agree we're having a tough day. It's almost 70 degrees out. We're about to go get some the southern food down here. And from everybody, Dan, Ethan, Ian, we'll catch up with everybody on eDraft.com and plenty of other outlets after South practice ends, in just a couple hours here. Thanks a lot, guys.